Wonderful viewers, you're welcome to your darling station, The Living Television. It is your favorite program, Nigeria Today. Nigeria Today will be looking at Wike discrediting Dino Melaye's intention for governorship of Kogi State. Nadeko has asked U.S. President to disregard Chimamanda's letter. Finally, PDP says Nigeria has become a laughing stock courtesy of INEC 2023 general elections. In today's discussion, I have your wonderful analysts who you love and cherish listening to, who will be doing justice to these topics. Today is going to be very, very brief, unlike other days, but the most important thing is the key thing in today's discussion. From my far left, I have Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian and has doubled as a tele-evangelist, not just a historian, he's also a political affairs analyst. Comrade, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for having me. It's like you are you actually impressed with this tele-evangelism of the day. Yes, it's accidental and incidental tele-evangelism. Thank you so much for that very privilege. Thank you for having me. Then good day, our viewers.
And after him, you have Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwogu. Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwogu, first and foremost, is a practicing lawyer. He is also a security consultant. He is also a public affairs analyst. Barrister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, moderator, and good day, viewers. Good day also to the tele-evangelist.
All right. A former federal lawmaker, Senator Dino Melaye, has criticized Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State for saying that PDP is backing on a fruitless mission if it sponsors Dino Melaye for the forthcoming governorship election in Kogi State. Governor Wike had, in a media chat with Channels TV, said Melaye knows that he does not have what it takes to be a governor of a state. If Dino Melaye has the ticket, PDP ticket, that means Kogi State will lose the governorship. And then we know about this, the two of them, before we go to Dino Melaye's response to this issue. Wike is from Rivers State. Dino Melaye is of Kogi State. Let me start with you, comrade. And then, is he justified in any way to dictate for Kogi State who becomes their governor?
I think it is self-explanatory that there is no need. The governor, yes, we get in another means, whether by funny way, you understand, whether by funny means or whether by funny manner or try to sustain the embers of vision in the PDP. I think the elections have come and gone. What the PDP needs to do now is go back to square one and begin with the process of reconciliation. I think what we should be hearing more is conciliatory statements. People embracing, in fact, handshake across regions, coming together to say, how do we get it right and where do we get it wrong in the last election? So this statement, now Governor Nyesom Wike has actually succeeded to a great extent, having the DP chairman removed, which was one of his campaigns for which he and others formed what they call the G5. And you look at it, you see that virtually in all these states, the PDP lost during the presidential election. In all the G5 states, you see that virtually PDP lost. So the best thing, Wike should stop carrying himself as the enemy of the states. Dino Melaye has been a PDP member, and at least for some reasonable amount of time, and has the right to express his interest or to say, I want to run. Like other persons who are also joking or who will be vying the same position. So it's not for Wike to say. I do not know whether he was talking as the PDP chairman in Kogi State or as the governor of Kogi State. It's not in his place. So all these are what I expect him to do is that he actually tries to initiate a healing process. You understand? A reconciliation process. Now we've not seen the National Working Committee of this party do much in terms of trying to bring every aggrieved party, you understand, to be able to have an agreement. So what they should do is talk about how to heal, not how to keep bickering and tearing the party apart any further.
All right, Council, you heard about that. You're a deep-rooted old member of PDP, and we've discussed shortly before the general election. We've talked about Wike, his utterances, and also the G5. Today, now he has picked Dino Melaya.
Well, Governor Nyesom Wike, for those who have followed his antics, he's a very strong character. He's a very strong governor, very strong statesman. He's a man who says something and he goes out of his way to ensure that he takes almost any necessary step to realize or actualize that particular position he has taken. With due respect to him, I consider him an extremist of some sort, because if he is not an extremist of some sort, Comrade said it, the elections are over.
Yeah.
During the campaigns, he took very extreme positions, both in utterances and in actions, to ensure that his party lost the presidential elections. Those utterances, those actions were deliberate, they were calculated, and focused at ensuring that PDP lost. Yet he is a PDP member. So when I begin to say that he's an extremist, I'm also willing to proffer reasons for saying so, and these are the reasons I have given. Now, somehow, he has met his match in the other character called Dino Melaya,
Exactly.
who is also an extremist of some sort, especially in his theatrics. We know him for his theatrics, his poetic lyrics every now and then, his satires, even in his dramatization. So these are two extremists, one pulling very strongly at the left, the other one pulling very strongly at the right, and I would say they have met their match. However, the reason or the immediate past reason that pitched them against each other seems no longer, or at least to have quietened down, which is the election. The national chairman of PDP is gone.
Yeah.
The elections have been won and lost, and there is really no reason to continue. Except that if Wike hadn't been an extremist, what is his business trying to dictate to the people of Kogi State who to put and who not to put, considering that he himself worked against the interest of PDP. So, if somebody views Wike's stance or utterance as a continuation of his moves to ensure that PDP is destroyed, the person might also be justified in taking such a position.
All right, before we move ahead, let us watch a little video clip on Dino Melaya's response before we go back to the papers. Let's see. Well, for just a few seconds, can we see the video clip of Dino Melaya's response?
It's a continuation of his periodic comedy, where even from the reactions of the journalists, laughing intermittently shows that they were actually enjoying a comedy show. For me, it was a comedy show because he was talking about the delegates in Kogi State. I did not tamper with delegates because I'm not one of those who went to the field to supervise or conduct the congresses. And Kogi State is not River State, where Wike was changing results at will, where he was using violence to intimidate opposition. He has gone to court to make sure that there's no opposition to his candidates that he has fielded. There has been an employment of violence to stop even opposition parties from filing their cases in court. Kogi is not River State, and nobody in Kogi will be that wicked or nefarious to behave. So I maybe think what he's doing in Rivers is what is happening in Kogi. No, the party went out, sent credible people to go and conduct the delegate election, and they reported back what happened on the field. And that.
All right, though this is not exactly the one we're looking at. In Dilo Menaye's response, he said that Wike is a sad reminder of the misfortune that the people of Rivers State have suffered in having an unstable mind, a prodigal head as the governor of the state for the past 8 years. Dino
begin to play out in a state like Kogi. In Nigeria, every state as a political terrain is unique. What obtains in Rivers may not obtain necessarily in Abia or Enugu or Lagos or Kogi or Kaduna. Each state, they have their own strengths, they have their own weaknesses, they have their own opportunities, they have their own threats. Each is unique. No two states are alike. Every now and then, in different aspects, you might borrow few examples or experiences or ideas, but that does not mean that they are the same. So, if you ask me, I would have tried to advise, assuming it were possible, Governor Wike to mind what is going on in Rivers State and allow the people of Kogi to determine their fate.
Okay. All right, comrade, is a way there is, I'm not sure the Rivers and Kogi, I'm not sure they have a common boundary. You know, as to say he knows what is going on in Kogi State and the people of Kogi State. And then before now, every Nigerian had believed that Wike was fighting a just cause. The presidential candidate coming from the north, national chairman coming from the north. Now, why picking on individual? Then compare it with what Dino Melaye replied.
Yes, Dino Melaye said Wike called him 19 times. That's almost about a dozen times to give him access to Atiku to actually work with him. But if that had actually happened, or if that were to be true, that means the whole thing Wike was saying during the campaign, you understand, prior to the election, and even after the election, the whole thing translates to translates to lies, because Wike was also in attendance when the Southern governors, 17 of them, had a meeting to say that they will not be accepting the position of vice president if the presidency was coming from or was to be given to the North, whether in the PDP or in the APC. And the person who convened that very meeting is the governor of Delta State. Unfortunately, he himself, the host of the meeting, ended up now being the vice presidential aspirant.
That is called politics.
Yes.
Which has to do with interest.
Interest, yes. And then I think it was Lord Acton who said in international politics there are no permanent friends and enemies. The only thing permanent is interest. The other scholars have actually begun to expand. But I want to say this, you see, Wike and denominator, between these two, I have no preference for any one of them. Yes, they are overly reducing politics to theater. And politics is too much a business. In fact, if you have read the work of scholars like Clausewitz, said politics is continuation of war by means other than military. Now, politics is a serious thing, you understand? It's not something you go into, begin to, like cancel this, you begin to deploy theatrics, you begin to overly dramatize. Politics should be all about ability to mobilize, the charisma, the power, even if possible. If it were in the days of Azikiwe, the days of the isms, ability to speak to the people using ideology. But these days we no longer hear such things. Wike, I think during the whole thing, he formed a band, and he was more of the
lead vocalist.
Yes, he was the lead vocalist.
He was
dancing away the campaign. Dino Melaye was also involved in video clips produced. Was in fact he went into video.
He was an originator, a designer and originator.
With FFK, and these men, sadly, they are still in the old times. It's interesting to know. Nigerians are no longer interested in this kind of things. Nigerians are beginning to ask questions as they have to do with character, with competence, with capacity, with the knowledge, including medical and physical coordination of the person they want to give power or office or government to.
All right, we are going to go on a very short break. When we come back, Nigeria Today continues. Very short break. Don't go away. Keep watching Living TV. We'll be back shortly.
And so you can keep on watching Living TV. I can say in Pidgin English. Living TV. Nade Kampe.
Thank you. I'm glad you're still there watching your favorite station, the Living Television. You're still on it, Nigeria Today. The coordinator, National Democratic Coalition Renewal Group, Professor Atidele Adeyo, on Tuesday condemned the letter written to United States President Joe Biden by Nigerian writer Chima Amanda Adichie over the February 25 presidential election won by APC candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But Adichie in the letter faulted the U.S. for congratulating Tinubu, who alleged emerged through unlawful process. The election was fraught with irregularities and violence, and as well compromised by the electoral umpire, she alleged. Adekorilowa said Adichie's outburst betrayed the ethnic bias in a matter of national interest, urged the American president to ignore the letter in its entirety, describing its content as childish, seditious, and illogical. Counsel, let me start with you. You are aware of the letter written by Aliche, and also the response. The NADECO had come out to say that that letter should be ignored, and it classified the letter in 3 ways: childish, seditious, and illogical.
Well, there's also another statement credited, underlined to NADECO, and they imputed some ethnic bias
Yes.
on the part of Chimamanda. Coincidentally, it is the NADECO that would be guilty of displaying this ethnic bias and inclination. Professor Wole Soyinka, in calling out the obedience, also betrayed some emotive sentiment based on ethnicity, and that didn't pan out well with a whole lot of people. He's a very senior member of NADECO. The last time I checked, at least one of the founding fathers, and at the point was almost the alter ego of that organization. Now, different, to give the lie to what NADECO is now trying to say. Soon after the elections, and not until even very recently, several individuals, groups, and organizations have done exactly what Chimamanda did, urging the US not to recognize, not to congratulate the award given to the BAT by Professor Mahmoud. Because that is exactly what Nigerians see.
Is that electoral award?
Yes. It's a rape. It's a daylight robbery, daylight rape on democracy. I keep on saying it that I am not a member of the Labour Party, but for God's sake, I am convinced that Nigerians voted massively for Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. I come from a different political party, but since he was the person that Nigerians have voted for, overwhelmingly, that is to my mind. I feel convinced. Of course, I'm entitled to my belief, opinion, and so I express it hereby. INEC should go ahead to declare the correct and proper result. That's what they should have done. If there are other issues that would now prevent his ascending the throne, that would be a secondary issue. So why single out Chimamanda and then try to profile her own comment based on ethnicity, when even organizations like Afenifere, Yoruba based, it is the paramount socio-cultural organization in Yoruba land. They are still till tomorrow throwing their weight behind Peter Obi. And if that is the case, and Chimamanda just recently, belatedly, very late, is mirroring what others have done. So why suddenly single out her own? It's just like what Professor Yemi Osibanjo said years ago. And some days ago, Ahmed Dati said a similar thing. I don't support any of those two views. Let me not be misunderstood.
Exactly.
I take exception to what Professor Yemi Osibanjo said. I take exception to what the similar thing that Dati said. However, mine as a lawyer who read the law of equity and studied it, is that you should treat equals equally. It becomes injustice when you treat equals unequally, or you treat unequals equally. If they want to call out Chimamanda, they should also be calling out, I expect Nadeko to say something about what Professor Wole Soyinka said. Otherwise, allow people to then freely express their views. Several people, several individuals, several organizations have been urging the US do not congratulate Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And US has been keeping quiet regarding this. At least the president, that's Joe Biden, has been keeping quiet about sending out any congratulatory message.
All right, comrade.
Yes.
One of the things they say, he said the Chimamanda's outburst, has betrayed, her ethnic bias in a matter of national interest. And if we are talking about this, even the current spokesperson for the Nadeko is of the Yoruba, Wole Soyinka is of the Yoruba, and Chimamanda by name is also of the Southeast. So when they are talking
of Igbo.
Of Igbo.
If if you want to go southwest, go southwest, southeast. If you want to now say Yoruba Igbo, so let's put things in proper perspective.
And these other two they are all talking in support of this election.
Yes.
So who is now of ethnic bias?
You see, I will begin by saying that Nadeko is a factionalized group for now.
Okay.
Before now, there was also a group of Nadeko, a group or a faction of Nadeko in America that wrote a worded letter saying they denounce the emergence of Bola Ahmed. It was also in public domain. But this faction of Nadeko now saying or trying to berate Chimamanda Adichie, I think they should be ashamed of themselves. It's my personal opinion. Because what is happening in Nigeria now was exactly what created Nadeko. That there were contentions. You understand? That somebody won an election and was not allowed to form government or to become government. That's Abiola. The election of Abiola, the election of Abiola was not actually declared. There was never a time he was declared winner. You understand? He was never declared winner by the Humphrey Mosul-led NEC. That was NEC then, not INEC.
Not INEC.
NEC. Now, Peter Obi is saying, and his supporters are also believing, that they came out in mass. In fact, do you know that someone had approached me to say, I went to the IREF and saw that hundreds of the votes we actually gave. You understand? And he said he sat back to wait for vote counting. He said he went back to IREF and saw that the votes were less than 130. And that the votes were more than 500. So these are the questions INEC ought to be addressing. But unfortunately, the shameless INEC today is saying that Peter Obi did not, in fact, has no low standing to even approach the court. After telling us that they needed 3 billion naira to prosecute a court, a matter in court, and now you begin to ask yourself, what does the legal department of INEC do? This is a commission that was given 305 billion naira. 305 billion naira for this very election, out of which it deployed 117 billion naira to technology. Technology included things like IREF, technology included things like BVAS, included things like the portal where you submit your forms to INEC. You no longer need to go physical. You just online you submit. Now after spending all the billions on technology, INEC delivered spectacular failure in place of results, and the commission is put today to be. You see, it brings us to something. There should be a way we treat this INEC. One, remove INEC from the presidency. That's number one. Number two, don't make INEC a party when you are suing. Because if you listen to the US committee report, there is no need to make INEC a party when you sue. They say INEC is a neutral body. You see, we have to amend our electoral act in such a way that INEC can only be a witness. Now, if you look at this matter now, INEC is like joining forces with
APC. Exactly.
If you look at the way, even its own prayers and petition, INEC seems to be the unregistered political party in the matter. That's what INEC seems to be. So I think what now to even talk about Chimamanda Adichie, I have read Chimamanda Adichie, all his work. I have read over half of Wole Soyinka's. it is a shameful thing that we've come to a point where our leaders don't even respect our institution, but fear America. Whenever it is said that somebody has written to America saying don't allow them visa, don't do this, they don't begin to
if you write to America that your bono soup is about to get sour, everybody will start panicking.
It is also these same persons, these characters that will take debate, political debate to US, to United Kingdom. You understand?
To Chatham
House, to anywhere.
Tinubu went there to do it.
I will appear before CNN to grant interview when they don't honor local stations like even our own, Al Jazeera, AIT channels, and what have you. Tinubu, who didn't participate in any election debate, you understand, was in Chatham House talking, articulating his policies and views. Now we have made our elections so porous, so prone, and they're open to Western influences. So we should also live with that outcome. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have supported that we've come to a point where for us to get our politicians or to try to rent them in, we now write to America. You understand? It should be a simple thing, but then it is where we are. That today, after bastardizing all the institutions of democracy, including the courts, including the judiciary, including the legislature, rather, now the only thing the average Nigerian can do now is to begin a petition, online petition, say stop Mahmood and his family from coming to America. It should be a shame that it was even in the news that one of the judges who passed or who pronounced that judgment on Imo State was going to America. This is America.
Yes.
While the visa of his head was actually approved, his was denied. It should be a shameful thing.
All right. Finally, before we go, the PDP Presidential Campaign Council for 2023 elections said Nigeria has become a laughing stock with the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. The Director of Planning and Strategy at Atiku Campaign, Dr. Don Pedro Basaki, stated this while addressing journalists in Abuja. Dr. Don Pedro said the INEC conduct has made previous election irregularities paled into insignificance. Let me come to you, Counsel. He said Nigeria is now a laughing stock as a result of this concluded presidential election, and that the irregularities we've been talking about the past election, that this is even...
I think if I put it favorably to the spokesman, he was very mild to just describe the nation as a laughing stock. Nigeria is now a recognized theater of the absurd. That is actually what we are. Look at what the people we claim are our leaders, what they do. They are all comedians. In fact, they are, I'm sorry, they are not comedians, so that I don't end up insulting our revered
stand-up comedians.
Yes, who relieve us of high blood pressure and earn a very good livelihood by the work they do. We are dealing rather with clowns. The political elite are over 80% populated by clowns. The sad thing is that somehow the people are now like grass. They do not know or care about who eats them. Cows eat them, sheep eat them, goats eat them. That is the level to which we have been reduced. In answering the second question, Comrade had somehow, his answer now dovetailed into this one. See what the INEC chairman did. INEC came out emphatically several times to tell us everything must go through BVAS. No accreditation without BVAS. Everything must be uploaded in real time. The results will be dropping. They gave repeated assurances. Several interviews were granted. This same Mahmood was the man who kept reassuring Nigerians. It is not only that. Even our Oga chief driver swore to high heavens that money politics thuggery and everything would be stamped out, that this is his lifelong ambition. And a lot of us felt that if he was able to achieve this, that his numerous sins would be pardoned, or at least would be whitewashed by that singular act of ensuring credible elections. And today, what do we have? The worst election ever in the history of mankind, anywhere in the world. The worst. Nothing could have been more embarrassing, nothing could have been more humiliating than what we projected to the world as election. And then finally you say go to court. The court is the dumping ground, is the dust bin. I belong to that constituency of the legal profession where whosoever is aggrieved, rightly or wrongly, you turn your grievances to. And then you would mess up something you are in a position to correct there immediately. You shy away from responsibility and shirk your duties and say go to court. To the extent that all over the world now we are being laughed at. Two teams will play a match. One team would score 7 or 8 against the other one that will score 0. And they say, just call the INEC chairman to put a 2 in front of the 0. And it will now become 8-20 here. And that the team that lost by 8-0 will be the one. If you don't like it, go to court. That is the level to which you have been reduced. So you can now see that the man who said we have been made a laughing stock was being economical with the truth. He was just being a gentleman with the way he expressed it. I dare say that Nigeria has become a theater of the absurd, where virtually any and everything is obtainable.
All right, comrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's, you heard what he said, Don Pedro, said about, he said Nigeria is now a laughing stock. There have been irregularities in elections, national elections and so on. But this one was very obvious, conspicuously obvious.
Yeah.
And then that is why he said Nigeria is now a laughing stock. So what's your take on that?
Well, it's as clear as day. It's as clear as daylight that the Nigeria election, 2023 elections, reduced Nigeria to a comic field, a comic theater, you understand? And then the developed democracies of the world, they will be looking and laughing. You see, there is nothing that, you see, if it was not easy for Pilate to wash off his hands, or to wash the blood of Christ off his hands, it may not also be easy for INEC to exonerate itself totally from all the irregularities that marked this election. 2 elections happened on the 25th of February. One was the National Assembly election, the other one was the presidential election. The result of the National Assembly election were uploaded differently from the result of the presidential election.
Same portal.
The same portal was
same IRF.
The same election. The elections took time the same time. Upon see, and I will say this, you see, the Constitution and the Electoral Act, they did two beautiful things. In as much as I still say in some other appearances, I've said that the Constitution is a good agenda. You understand? But I have this to say, you see, this Constitution understood its weaknesses or its limitation and empowered INEC to make laws for the purpose of what? Election management. The Electoral Act also enshrines the same thing, embodies the same thing, that INEC shall be free to do what? To make laws for the management of election. That is why we have the regulations. I have
the manual, the
guidelines.
guidelines.
Manual guidelines and regulations. I have the one of 2014, the one of 2018, and the one of 2021. It usually comes a year to the election, or like 8 months before the election. Now, in that guideline, I think Rule 38 was emphatic. Now, mind you that the Constitution is the father, is the grandmother. Am I correct? Now, the Constitution is the father of the Electoral Act, because the Electoral Act derives its function or its being, its existence from the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is the father of the Electoral Act. The Act is the father of these guidelines. These are the only laws INEC is empowered by law to make. Now, if you go to number 38 of the guidelines, it says that the result shall, the word was shall. The word, it wasn't is, will. The word was, the result shall be electronically transmitted to the college, then to IREF. But unfortunately, IREF did not do that. So to me, they made the election laughing stuff. And then the worst of it all was that from here, Lai Mohammed went abroad. That's the height of the whole thing to me. That the height of the whole mockery. To go to gather press houses, media houses that have written ugly stuff about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Washington Post, AP, foreign policy, name them. He brought them together and began to do press conference. And was, instead of talking about real issues, was not talking about Peter Obi. That was the height of it all. And now, by himself, single-handedly scored the election. The same people you were talking to, they monitored this election. America sent observers, EU sent observers. Now you now pronounce an election as 97% correct. That's the height of the whole thing. So
all right.
I think.
What do you expect from a man whose name is lie?
There, he went. See, I think a day he spent here is $1,000. Istanbul, $1,000 or so. Istanbul.
All right. Before we go for today, Council, in summing up today and all that we've discussed, I also want you to look at this Nigeria as a laughing stuff, and also this statement credited to the INEC chairman when he accepted that yes, that the election was filled with flaws and sabotage, and yet they are now also coming up to tell us that Tinubu won the election. Just in 20 seconds.
The INEC chairman, I had expected his resignation on the day of the election. That day the election was being held, I had expected him to say, look, gentlemen, this thing is not going the way I had promised Nigerians, because he entered into a social contract with us. He gave a lot of first-time voters all the reassurances, encouraged them, and they trooped out to vote. Then after voting, see the way you have destroyed their hope, sent some of them hurtling backwards beyond even the point from which they started. Since he didn't tender the resignation that day of the election, I had expected that by the next day being Sunday, the resignation would have come. He didn't do so.
And he's still there.
It is still not too late for him to resign today, to save his name and honor. If it's in Japan, when something like this happens, you would even commit suicide.
Yes.
So I wouldn't go that far to ask him to commit suicide like the Japanese, because we are not Japanese. But I expect a resignation. Maybe after this program, we ought to hear that Mahmoud has resigned.
All right.
Honestly, it's a shame. It's a disgrace to the entire nation.
Yes, you see, before now, I used to have that view that Professor Maurice was the worst chair of the umpire.
Now that one is a saint when you compare his conduct to
the aftermath of this election and all other things that have happened, including Professor Mahmoud not going by the provision of the Electoral Act to review the results before pronouncement of his men. Everything points to the fact that Yakubu has now taken the lead. He now leads the pack in terms of
infamy,
election mismanagement.
And infamy.
It has to do with our election. But what I want to say is that for me personally, the ball is now in the court of the judiciary. And in the worst of clergies during this Easter, Bishop of Sokoto, the guy that will be Bishop of Sokoto, Buka, urged the judiciary. It's no longer they say that you are the last hope of the common man. It is now that you are the last hope of the common man. And Nigerians are not happy. And make sure you establish justice.
All right.
But sorry, on a parting note, remember that the court will do, apart from going by evidence, the court will do justice according to the law. Let's just have it at the back of our mind.
Okay.
Justice according to the law.
That's where you are a member of the bar, so it is important to let us know this. Well, our wonderful viewers, that's the much we're going to take today. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being a fan of the Living Television. Keep watching our programs even after now. Interesting programs will still come your way. And then I hope you keep watching Living Television. From my far left today, I still have Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, the historian. Comrade, I'm glad you are here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, viewers, for your invaluable time.
And Barrister Chukwemeka Uwogo, the security consultant and a lawyer. Thank you, Counsel, for being part of today's program.
Thank you, Moderator. Thank you, viewers, for keeping faith with us, and bye for now.
And this is your anchor man, Chinedum Adiele. Keep a date with us. Remember, on Friday, but even before Friday, beautiful programs are going to come your way today and tomorrow. Keep watching Living TV.